Hey everyone, in our last video, we saw that we created a mock API. So in this video, we will create a React application and we will consume that API. So let's create the React application first. So I am using npx create React app command to create new React application, or we can say user management application, because we will create more component in this application. So I am creating application user management in React. Our application has created. We can test our application now. We can jump into the directory by cd command. We should clear the screen. Then we can jump into the directory cd user management. This cd command change the directory to user management. Now we are in our application directory. We can see list of files by dir command. Now we can run our application. npm start. npm start commands runs the React application. Our application is running now, and we can see this screen on our browser. Now we can open our VS Code and we can see how many files are there. So these are the files that we have in our user management application. And this app.js component is running on this screen. First component that is being rendered on the screen is the app component. We can change this component. We can just remove all the code from this component and, just change this to first component. Our output is here, means we are on the right component. Now we will create a list of users in this component and we will consume the API that we created in our last tutorial. This is the mock server that we created in our last tutorial. I'm going to start my server, not index service. My server is running and we created API get user in this server. So the API URL is get user. Actually, we created a get user API in the mock server. We can also paste this API in the browser. Click what is localhost 3000. Our API is working. So friends, we checked our API is working. Now we can fetch the data from the API and render in the list. So we have imported two hooks, useEffect and useState. We will use these two hooks to fetch the data from the server and render in the list. First, we will fetch the data from the server. So friends, we will use useEffect hook. And the question is arising, when does this useEffect hook get executes? So friends, answer is that this useEffect hooks get execute after component mount. Means first it will render the output on the screen, then it will execute the code in the useEffect hook. So we want to make an API call and we want that API call to be execute after first render. Means first it will show this output, then we will make an API call. So we are using useEffect hook. Let's write the code to make an API call. It accept two parameters. One is the function where we will write code to make our API call, and second is dependency array. Dependency array. This blank array determine it will call only once. Okay, and we can pass any condition over here to control the behavior of this useEffect hook. Now we will write the code to make our API call, and we will use browser's fetch function. Browser's fetch function to make our API calls. Actually, it is an inbuilt function in the API, browser API. We can just pass our API URL in it and it will make our API. But this fetch function returns promise. So to resolve the promise, we have to use then over here. Or we can use async await. So in this example, we will use async await. So to use async await, we will make another function, another async function over here. Async function fetch data. In this function, we will write our code to make our API call. Because we need to use await keyword here. Await. So to use await keyword, this await keyword should come in async function. That's why we created this async function. Now we can use async await both. And the response has come to this response variable, and from the response we can pass our JSON. So we need another line of code to pass the JSON from this response. JSON. and we also need to await here. So this is the way of using fetch function. First, we will use fetch function to get the response, and second, we should pass JSON from the response. So now we have our user list. So friends, we have made an API call and our output is in this user list. But we have defined this function, but we have not called it anywhere. So we should call this function right before this its definition. And we can see and we can test if the data is coming in user list or not by output it in console log like this. Now we can check it in the browser. So friends, in the browser, we can check here is the array of users. Means our API call is working and we are able to fetch the data from the server. Now we can render this user list over here in the in this HTML segment. So friends, as we saw that our first component string is rendered on the screen and our use effect hook is called after this render. To render this on the browser, we have to re-render it again. It will render from top to bottom again. Then we will see the effect on the browser. If if we use this user list dot length, user list length, nothing will happen because this is out of scope. So friends, we have to use useState. UseState hook returns two variables. State that we can name user list and save user list from useState, and we can pass blank array. So this user list is different from this user list. So we can change its name to our confusion. This is different and this is different. And this user list is actually this user list. So if we go to the browser, what will happen? It's zero because it has blank array and its length is zero. And this output is already sent to the browser. Now we will update this user list with this function and it will re-render the component again. So it will change this output. Now we will update the state. When we will pass this user data list in this function, it will update this user list with this output. Now our output has changed. Now we are receiving total user count 10. So friends, the special behavior of use state hook is that it will re-render the component. Use state re-render the component. You should remember this thing. When you will use set state function of use state, it will re-render the component from top to bottom. And when you will re-render the component, it will render this output and it will call this use effect hook again. Means again this will re-render this component and again this code will be executed. But we have passed this dependency array. Due to this dependency array, this code will call only once. So here is the use of the dependency. If you want to call this use effect hook multiple times, then you have to pass the condition accordingly. Here we pass the blank array. It will ensure that this hook will call only once and it has called once when we made an API call. So it will not call again. So that is the use of this blank array. So now friends, we can render our list in this components. So in order to render our list in the component, we can write the code over here in braces and we can loop through the list and we can generate our list. But we are not going to do that. Instead, we will create another child component. Here, we will create another child component. We will create new component render user list. And, and we will use this render user list component over here and we will pass this user list state as a props in this component. So friends, this user list will comes as a prop in this component and now we can extract this user list in this component from the block. Now we can iterate through this user list array and we can generate the user list. We will use this map array function to generate the user list. This map function accepts array as a parameter, and in this function it has variable item and index. The user is the single item from this array and index is the index. So from this user item, from this user row, we can generate single row of our list. We can simply return array and we can generate single row of our list. User.name and user.email. As we are returning multiple divs, we need to wrap all these multiple divs in a single div. It is required in React. Thirdly, there's a shortcut. So friends, this map array is returning our list. So we need to store somewhere in the variable. So we can use it in list variable. Now our list is generated and all the output is stored in this list variable. Now we can return this list from this component. And our list will be generated over here. Now we can see the output on the screen. Undefined reading map. Let's check what is happening. Okay, I mistakenly write the wrong props. Actually, it is user list. So our user list is coming now. Now we can add some margin at the left side. So at the top of this view, we can add some style to add some margin 20 and margin is added. Now we can arrange each row in horizontal fashion. So we can add some more style over here. We can use display property flex and justify control space it. And now it's looking. So friends, we have created our list. We can also change this first component string to total users. Actually, it's better. And we can remove this 7. So friends, our list is ready now. So friends, we saw that how we fetch API and use state hook to re-render the component, and we are able to render the list. So friends, in this video, we saw the use of useEffect and use state hook, and we also saw the async await keyword, how we use this async await and how we render the list. So friends, in my next videos, we will add more features in this list, like we will add sorting behavior, we will add searching behavior, we will add pagination in this list. So friends, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button, and please comment any feedback from your side. Thank you. Thanks.